Thank you. I'm sure you're all having a great time this morning. It's such an amazing event. It's the first time attending the Engagement Excellence Summit, and it's the first time that I'm presenting something like this, so I hope I do it justice and that you can walk away feeling that you've learned something new and take some tips back to your workplace. So, navigating the new world of dynamic working and employee well-being. It's quite a mouthful, so I'll try and break it down over the next couple of minutes. So, firstly, Trayport. Just to give you a background as to what our company does, we are a tech company based just around the corner in Liverpool Street. We work with a lot of smart developers. They develop software for traders and brokers. Pretty much, without boring you to death, 80% of Europe's and the UK's electricity is traded through our platforms. So our clients are traders and brokers, and electricity, gas, global commodities would have been traded through one of our platforms. Let me explain a bit more about this picture. Last year, the people team, that's myself, and I've got two of my sidekicks in the front row. We applied for Reward Gateway's Best Wellbeing Strategy. It was the first time we applied for anything like this. Went in, fingers crossed, hoping for the best, and we won. We were so thrilled and so proud that the program we had been working on for 2 years was recognized this way. Now, as a tech company, our workforce is predominantly male. Our ratio of men to women is roughly 4:1. I'll explain a little bit later why that stat is relevant in the context of what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So, the challenges we faced a couple of years ago, we had really high sickness levels in 2017. This was mainly because Trayport was being acquired by another business. That created a lot of job uncertainty. We had really tight project deadlines. People weren't really sure where the business was going. And naturally, our high sickness levels went up. Our HR were dealing with a lot of stress-related cases among staff. Staff weren't using our free employee assistance program. We had no wellbeing strategy or mental health policy in place. We wanted to provide an easily accessible platform for our remote workers. So as a company, we support that. We've got employees that work across the UK, but we also have offices. At the time, it was New York, but currently it is Singapore and Vienna. So we are a global company. And we just wanted to tackle the general stigma around mental health. Now, as I mentioned, we are a predominantly male workforce, and the stigma around mental health is a lot higher amongst men than women. A recent study done by the Mental Health Foundation found that 28% of men are less likely to talk about mental health issues compared to 19% of women. So with that in mind, we knew that we had our work cut out for us. So, what was our approach? Don't reinvent the wheel. We have a lot of different personalities, especially in a tech company, super smart people that just think differently, A personalities, a lot of people, different generations and different backgrounds, different cultures. And we thought, how do we get all these people to come together to talk about mental health and start breaking down those barriers? We kept it focused, and we wanted to address, as I mentioned, the issues that we were faced with, the high sickness levels, the general stigma. And what we did is our people team focused on 4 goals. We wanted to decrease the volume of sick leave. We wanted to increase the overall level of wellness among staff. We wanted to raise awareness around mental health and wellness. And we also wanted to, obviously, attract and retain talent by providing a comprehensive and innovative wellness program. So with that in mind, with those 4 goals, we sort of, we didn't come up with them out of thin air. We thankfully run an annual employee survey that's conducted by our people team. We run quarterly HR reports, and our payroll and benefits team hold regular breakout sessions with our staff to gauge in if the benefits that we provide are comprehensive, is there anything that we are missing that we could include. And on the back of one of our annual employee surveys, the results showed that staff wanted us to broaden our benefits package. It seemed to be the norm that employers provided staff with a discounts platform. We didn't have that at the time a couple of years ago. And as we wanted to remain an attractive employer of choice, we took this feedback seriously and took it on board, and we partnered with Reward Gateway. We also like that their wellness hub, that's a snapshot of our wellness hub, was a great complement to what we already did and what we wanted to do as part of our wellness strategy. This wellness portal, with the Move, Munch, Money, Mind, there's great articles and blogs in there, exercise videos, and it was super that staff from across the world could access this portal at any time. Right, putting our strategy and goals into practice. This was the challenging and fun bit. So at Trayport, we have always made a conscious effort to be inclusive and supporting different, recognized initiatives and cultural events. Things like Easter, we do Easter egg hunt around the office, we celebrate Christmas, we celebrate Pride. So last year, I had to cart 150 rainbow bagels from around the corner from our office. And it was a lot heavier than what you would imagine. But we had a big sort of breakfast over Pride. We celebrate Diwali and things like Movember. And we thought, acknowledging our high sickness levels in 2017, it was a perfect time to support the UK's Mental Health Awareness Week in May. We thought, why not add this to our portfolio of events we currently support? But because we had so much ground to cover based on the 4 goals we had outlined, we extended that week in May to the whole month. And we launched our first ever Reboot and Recharge program. Our people team, again, we work really well together, decided that well-being means different things for different people. And we thought, well, what do we cover? Where do we start? We broke it down into 3 pillars. We wanted to focus on mental and emotional well-being, mindfulness and relaxation, and exercise and nutrition. With these 3 pillars, that was a great sort of foundation to get speakers involved into the different pillars. So this is just a snapshot of the first program that we launched in 2018. We had speakers talking about resilience. We had somebody come in, teach our staff about meditation and mindfulness. We trialed yoga over lunchtime. And all of these sessions were held in the office over lunchtime. So it was a lunch and learn, effectively. It wasn't interfering with staff's other meetings that they had. They didn't need to go off site. We kept sign up really simple and straightforward. I think some of the sessions you could just write your name on a piece of paper in our kitchen, but there was no limit as to how many sessions staff could attend. This is just to show you exactly what it looked like in one of our largest meeting rooms in the office. Staff would come along, have a listen. We also did an outdoor gym session, which was also really well received. We also ensured that we got feedback after each session. I think this is probably one of the key things that helped us build our success for our program based on last year. We kept feedback really simple, really quick, 3 questions for after attendees attended different topics. And just to highlight, the first time that we did the yoga, for example, 11 people specifically quoted that they would like to see this as a regular feature. Some of the other feedback that we got was because our workforce is quite scientific, they enjoyed the speakers, but they felt that speakers with more sort of scientific background held a lot more weight and would be a lot more valuable. We took that feedback on board, and last year when we ran our program again for the second year running, we kept the 3 pillars and added in a couple of more sessions. The doggy de-stress was by far the most popular session we had. It's amazing what 15 minutes of patting a dog in the office does. We were quite surprised that this got so much feedback when we had somebody with, we had a doctor with a degree in psychology talking and delivering amazing talks, whereas these dogs had no idea why they were there. They just loved being patted, but it was one of the biggest successful programs. Again, feedback on the back of 2019, we kept it really simple. After each session, asked attendees to complete anonymous feedback. We had a 4.5 average star rating across the program. That's out of 5, so that was super. Very, very successful. With the understanding and managing stress, and again the doggy de-stress, those were probably the most popular and the most positive sessions that we hosted. And with that in mind, we reflected a bit. We had had this program for 2 years running, and we wanted to look back. What had we learned from these programs? Is it valued? Do we carry on doing it? And the answer was yes. From a budget perspective, we didn't spend an awful lot of money. It worked out roughly £50 per person or per employee per annum to host these programs. Feedback is important. It helped us build from our first session or our first year in 2018. It helped us build on the success of that and made last year's program even more successful. We also found that swapping out an indoor meditation or an indoor yoga session for an outdoor session was really popular. A lot of people aren't into the whole yoga and meditation, and we have to be aware of that and acknowledge that that's not everybody's cup of tea. So we swapped it out with something more physical. We also found that managers were approaching HR asking for a more bespoke manager mental health training. Managers are obviously, we've got managers that work with and manage teams of up to 50 employees. Some manage 3 or 4, but they were asking for this more bespoke training, mainly because they would be the first people to identify if somebody in their team, something was amiss before they approach HR. We thought that that was a fantastic idea, and this training is actually underway. Our response to feedback was, again, as I mentioned, it's super important to ask for feedback, but to also show your employees that you are listening to what they are saying and making a difference. So our weekly yoga program in the first session was so popular and really well received. Staff were asking to bring it back, but obviously there's a cost element to that. So we did a 6-week trial. We monitored the attendance from across the business. We didn't obviously want to, we could make the whole people team attend and make sure that it looked really popular, but that wouldn't be accurate. So it was well attended from across the business. We had people in legal, in our technology team, in finance attending it, some people who had never done yoga before, giving it a go, because it's in the office, it's right there over lunchtime. And because it was so well received over the 6-week trial, we went to our senior management team with this information, and I think it cost about £2 per employee. It didn't cost an awful lot for the year. And for them, that was a no-brainer to include it. That also is now part of our benefits package. It's a great attraction piece that we offer yoga once a week over lunchtime in our office. We also noted that credentials is important, so on the back of our first session, we increased our budget slightly. Obviously, speakers with doctorates and doctors in psychology do cost a bit more, but we focused on quality over quantity of speakers. That also helped us build also spread the word of mouth amongst employees. Some people were skeptical about these sessions taking place, or they feel that they won't benefit from it. But when they get back to their desk and they talk about what an amazing session they had, and they feel really inspired, and they can use the information back home in their personal life, it got word spreading and people attended more sessions after that. We also noted that, as I mentioned, with our workforce being predominantly male, a lot of the tech men weren't interested in yoga. It's just not their thing, not willing to try it. But they do play a weekly football match. This was a self-funded game that a lot of our men at Trayport do. And at the end of last year, I sat down and had a look at how many people or how many of our male workforce take part in this weekly football match. And it was about 23%. Again, that's quite high. It also covered a lot of things, you know, for example, breaking down the barriers of our graduates being able to play football with heads of departments. When they're back in the kitchen and they're making a cup of coffee, those barriers have been broken down. They're chatting. It's a lot more relaxed. More junior staff feel that they can approach more senior people for advice or even for mentorship. So again, those are subtle ways of breaking down those barriers, making staff feel comfortable with each other. And the cost of hosting or sponsoring these weekly football matches costs the same as the yoga. And again, we wanted to be inclusive of that. So as of this year, we now sponsor the football. And I remember, I think it was at the end of last year, I sort of mentioned it too. We've got a football chat group. And we put it out on the group, and I think I could hear the cheers from across the office of the guys being so excited and so thrilled that Trayport were willing to sponsor this and support that. It is now obviously 2 years, or this will be the third year that we will be hosting our Reboot and Recharge program. We've now shifted our focus from just focusing on the month of May, as it's January to December. It's now part of our culture. We don't only raise awareness of mental well-being and looking after yourself just for 1 month. We subtly push it through other avenues that we do. So, for example, we have a serenity room in our office. It's really basic. It's nothing, you know, we don't have a masseuse that's hiding in there that you can use for 24 hours, which would be amazing. And that's probably the next challenge that I'd like to face or address. But it's a room with a massage chair. You can close the door, turn the lights off. There's a diffuser just to help you relax. Staff use it all the time. I think last week I wanted to just get away from my desk. I needed some time out and I had to wait to use that room because someone was using it, which is great. That's what we want. We also do little things, you know, we provide healthy snacks in the business. We promote wellness through our wellness portal on the Reward Gateway Hub. We've just launched a new benefit. It is health screening checks, and what we've done is, so tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and again, it's just one of the little things that we celebrate in the office. We have a glass jar filled with hard chocolates, and we're going to get staff to guess how many hard chocolates are in the jar, and if you win this free health screening check, and that's on Look After Your Heart Valentine's Day. So it's little pushes like that. We've also launched 2 personal days this year. That is in addition to employees' annual leave. Personal days, I think in America they call them duvet days. It is, you know, managers are fully supportive of that, and that's also what they receive as part of their, the mental health training that they are all getting. This is pretty much if staff wake up and they just can't face coming into work that day. They don't want to take it as sick leave or unpaid or use their holidays for it. They can use one of these days as a personal day. As a company, we also support a lot of local charity initiatives. We feel that if you do good and give back to the community, it makes you feel pretty good about it. And on the back of that, we've also given staff 2 impact days. So we organise quite a lot of volunteer days throughout the year for our staff to get involved in. Again, that's a great way to break down those barriers. I remember a couple of years ago, one of our guys in our support team, he had been at the company for probably 10 months, and he came over to me and said, "Megan, who's that person over there?" And I was like, she's our HR manager. Why have you not met her? And it was just, he's like, oh gosh, I forgot I have, but he hadn't had an opportunity to speak to her yet. So those volunteer days allow for that, and we want to support that by providing staff with 2 impact days. The burning question, did it all work and was it worthwhile? Absolutely. Sorry, that's a bit skew there. We noticed, so if you cast your mind back to the beginning of the session, I mentioned that our sickness levels were really high, and it was one of the goals our people team wanted to address. When we ran reports at the end of 2018, so after we launched our first Reboot and Recharge program, we noticed that sickness levels dropped by 26%. That is huge, and that speaks for itself. As of today, those levels have remained the same. We haven't spiked again, even though we've just recently, or in the last year, been bought by a Canadian company. So when these stats were ran, or when we did it in 2018, we were still on sort of uncertain grounds. But because of this whole wellness program that we had launched, we believe that that's why the stats or the sickness levels had dropped. Our employee assistance program had gone from 0 hits, nobody was using it. We advertised it throughout our wellness program, and when we ran reports at the end of 2018, it had gone from 0 hits to 158 hits. That means employees were aware of it, were scoping it out. We are aware, obviously it's all anonymous, but we are aware that there have been some counselling cases through that, so which is super, that people are using it. And we also noticed that there was a 49% increase from our first Reboot and Recharge program in 2018 to the second one, which is phenomenal. We believe that was down to employees spreading it through word of mouth, increasing the budget ever so slightly so that the credentials of the speakers held a bit more weight. We made sign up really easy. So final takeaways. Keep it simple and start small. Have a look at what you're currently doing in your organization. You're probably doing a lot already. I know previously as the people team, we have always just, we put our head down and get on with it. We've got a ton of work to get through. We don't really have time to promote the work that we are doing, but it's so important to do that. So look at what you're doing. You're probably ticking a lot of these boxes. Before we launched our first program, bearing in mind that we have quite a small female minority at Trayport, we wanted to get all the ladies together for celebrate International Women's Day. So we put a calendar invite in everybody's diaries, and off we went for lunch. And this was all a self-funded lunch. It wasn't paid for by the business. It cost the company nothing. And I remember walking back from, I think we went to Box Park in Shoreditch, and walking back to the office after that, chatting to one of our ladies in technology, and she said that was so wonderful, just chatting to other women in the business, because she could go for days without speaking to other women at Trayport. And it's something so small, you wouldn't think just organising a lunch with a couple of people would have that impact, but it did. Ask for feedback and make the process super, super simple and anonymous, because people won't give their honest feedback, and you want that constructive criticism, bad feedback, because that's how you grow and develop the program. Communicate the changes you've made. So we always try and make an effort to highlight you said, we've done. So we did that with the yoga program. We do that on the back of our all-employee annual survey that we send out. We ensure that we communicate changes made through that way. And don't be afraid to try new things. When we first launched our program, it was new territory for us. We had no idea how this was going to go down. We have a lot of skeptics at work. A lot of people, scoff and just think, I don't need to learn to meditate. This is too fluffy and too airy-fairy. But they came around to the idea and they get it. We are fortunate enough that we've had 2 successful years of this program. It is now part of our day-to-day culture. Our employees live and breathe it, as well as the people team. We are huge advocates for it. And I think for our challenge this year, so it's a program that we're going to, keep doing and highlighting for the month of May. But this year, our challenge is to ensure that our offices in around the world can also benefit from these talks. It's not helpful to sort of record it and they can watch it, via live stream. We want to get people in their offices talking about it, possibly extending our yoga profile or our yoga courses that we do over lunchtime in London in our global offices. Because at the moment they've got access to the Wellness Hub on Reward Gateway, but we want it a bit more than that.